Okay, guys, this is a video we're doing from looking at how you've been doing on the Mathscape. These are the problems that you seem to be missing the most. So I'm just going to work on these and try and help you out with them. Okay, so the biggest thing to remember is that the circumference is measuring around. Okay, it measures around the circle. How far did you travel around? The area is talking about the inside. Okay. Okay, so you have to pay attention to that. The other thing you have to remember is there's two different formulas. For the circumference, you're going to have a formula of either the circumference equals diameter times the pi, which the diameter is the measure across, all the way across, or it's going to be, you'll see it written as 2 pi times r, because the diameter is 2 of the radiuses. Okay. The area, on the other hand, is going to be the measure inside, and so the area of a circle is going to equal pi times r squared, which is pi times r times r. You have to be able to discern. They want the circumference. So I would put on your cheat card, I would make sure for a reference card, I would make sure that you have this out now. Because if you have a card out now with these things written down, you're not going to need it later. Because when you sit there and you look at a problem and you ask yourself, well, which one am I asking? I'm asking for the circumference. And you ask your head. I mean, some of my smartest students, when we've been doing Zoom conferences, some of the smartest students, when I ask them what's the formula for the area of a circle, they don't know. Well, I don't think anybody's asked you to have the area or the formula for the area or the circumference of a circle yet. This is the first time you've learned it. So of course you don't know. So have it on a card, because after you've looked at it 10 to 15 times, you'll know. It'll just be in your head. But that's the magic of your brain. So right now, it's unfair to expect your brain to have that memorized yet. Okay, so if we're looking at the word circumference, then we're looking for the measure around. And we need to remember that the diameter of this shape right here, if we went all the way across, that'd be 2 radiuses, which means this would be 8 centimeters. So the whole diameter is 16 centimeters. And so we could say that we're going to have the circumference equals the diameter, which is 16 centimeters, times pi. Now, in the program that we're using MathSpace, you want to use the actual pi. On your calculator, you're going to hit 16 times pi, the number pi, the symbol of pi. Now, if when you hit enter, you get that it just hits 16 pi, that means that you're using a TI-30 probably, and it's in math print. So you want to go to the mode button, hit mode, scroll down to where it says classic. It'll say classic. Hit that so where it's reverse videoed, hit enter, then get out of that and now put 16 times pi, and that will give you the circumference is 50.26548246. Now this says to correct to 2 decimal places. And what that means is they want you to cut it off right here. Now this one's pretty close. So if we looked, this would be 50.26, And over here would be 50.27. And over here would be 50.25. Now, I only write that because when we say round down, I'm worried some students will pick this. But the question is, if I look, 650.265 would be right here. And so the question is, which one is it closest to, 50.26 or 50.27? And that, the reason why I give you 0.265 is that's the middle point between the two. And this is closer to 50.27. So our answer is going to be, this is 50.27 centimeters. And it's not centimeters squared because we're just measuring a linear length around the circle. Okay, we're just measuring how long is the string that goes around that circle. Okay. All right, so now we're going to go to another problem. You might look at that and realize, okay, we figured out the circumference. And what we were doing was we took just the formula, circumference equals the diameter times pi. We plugged it in. We rounded to the nearest hundredth place value because it told us to do it to 2 decimal places. And that's what it meant. We would put in, now on that, you want to use, they've given us those notes, you want to specifically use the symbol pi. Don't use 3.14. That's what we would be teaching you in class, that you could use 3.14. They want you to specifically use pi. Okay, so this one says, this is another most common missed problem. And I personally think that's probably because of that right there, the 1.2 centimeters. But let's look at it. I'm not sure what it is. Maybe you can communicate to me later what it says. But it says the radius of a circle is 1.2 centimeters. Find its circumference. So remember what we said. We want to know that first of all, we've got to determine what are we trying to find. And then did they give us the radius or the diameter? So they're giving us a circle and they're saying the radius from the middle out, the radius is 1.2 centimeters. And we want to find the measure around because that's the circumference. Okay? So it's just like we're going to wrap a string around it. How long does the string have to be? We talked about the formula for circumference is circumference equals 2 times pi times the radius, which we can write down as 2 times the radius times pi when we use commutative property. And we look and our radius is 1.2 centimeters. So we're going to have 2 times 1.2 times pi. 2 times 1.2 is 2.4 times pi. And that's going to give us 7.539822369. For all we know, the calculator just said, that's as far as I'm going to go, and they rounded it. So, okay. They want us to round to 3 decimal places. So that means we're going to come over here. And again, our question is, where is this closest to? Okay, is this whole thing closer to, we're going to have 3 numbers that we're going to consider. 7.538, 7.539, and 7.540. So notice we're talking about 539 one-thousandths, 540 one-thousandths, or 538 one-thousandths. Okay, so that means we're going to look at this and we say, well, 500 we look at 7.5395 would be right here in the middle. And that means 7.539822 would be right about here. So it's closest to 7.540. So we're going to round that, say that's 7.540. You should be able to have the same thing with 7.54. Okay. So, and then that's going to be centimeters and not centimeters squared, just centimeters, because we're talking about linear expression. We're talking about a linear measure. It's only one dimensional, so it's centimeters to the first power. Okay, so again, what we needed to see was we're trying to find the circumference, which means we're going to do the measure around the circle. They give us that it was the radius. So that means that's the measure from the middle to the outside. At any point on that circle, if you measure from the middle, it's going to be 1.2 centimeters. And then we use the formula, circumference equals 2 times pi times r. Okay. All right. Well, let's move on to the next problem. Okay. So let's look at this one. So they tell us we're looking for, first of all, we're going to run a circular track. So that tells us we're talking about a circle. Has a diameter of 28 meters. That's important. And they want us to know how many laps must be completed to run 1,700 meters. Okay, so if we're talking about a circle and we're running the laps around it, so that means we're talking about a circle, and we're wondering how many laps does it take to go around that circle, and it has a diameter, a measure from one end to the other across the middle. The diameter is 28 meters. And they want to know how many times would we go around this circle to be able to get to 1,700 meters. Well, that means how many laps, right? How many times around? So how long is it to go around? Well, so that means we're trying to find the circumference, because we're measuring around, not the area, but we're talking about the circumference. And circumference equals pi times the diameter, or the diameter times pi. Well, the diameter, they've given us the diameter is 28 meters. So that's going to be 28 times pi. So I put in the calculator, and they've said that they want you to use pi, the number, the symbol for pi, on your calculator. And so that comes out to be 87.9645943. Now, some of you might be asking, why are you writing it out all the way? They just want it to the one decimal place. Well, first of all, I might use this whole number for what I'm about to do, because if this means that I'm going to have, we can go back and say, what are we going to do? So we could say that one lap, remember our unit rates, is 87.943 meters. And we want to know how many laps for 1,700 meters. Okay, so that's what they're asking. This is a proportion problem. So if we look, we could just do it this way, and that means we're going to use the cross products. That means 1,700 meters equals 87.9645943 times x, which means we're going to divide both sides by 87.9645943. Okay, and that's going to mean that x equals 19.32595,738. Okay, so again, if we're going to round to the nearest one decimal place, and we're looking at this, and that's going to give us 19.3 laps. Because remember, that's what we were trying to figure out, is how many laps. Okay, so some of you might have said, well, I wanted to round my answer for the circumference to the nearest 100 or nearest 10th place value. Well, the fact is, if you looked at that, this would round to 88 meters. And if we took and did the same thing, and instead of 87.946 used 88, we still come out with 19.3 laps. So in this case, yep, you could. Wouldn't be a problem. So that means it's going to take 19.3 times to go around that track to get to 1,700 meters. Okay, so these are the most often missed problems. I'm going to do another video on area, but I don't want you to have to watch both of them if you get area, but you're not getting circumference. Thing you have to remember with circumference is it's the measure around the circle. You have to remember that the difference between the circumference and the area is the diameter times pi, or the circumference is the diameter times pi, which is also the 2 times the radius times pi. Okay, and the area is going to be the area of a circle is pi times r times r. But the area is talking about the inside of the circle. What's the measure inside the circle? So the next video will be about how do you calculate area. Okay? All right. Well, good luck. I hope this helps solve some of your questions.